Hey everybody, I am John Linsey and I'm here today in the Bama-Q test kitchen with Mr. Hotty Toddy himself, Ronald Burns, and together we make up Arcasippy Smoke Live. And Ronald, we're here, we got a treat today. We're here cooking Hassell Cattle Company Wagyu New York strips. There's nothing better on the market.
No, John, I mean, you look at the quality of these steaks. I mean, it's a privilege and a pleasure for us to be here cooking this quality of meat today.
Oh, man.
I can't wait to taste this.
Oh man, it's awesome. We're going to tell you, we're SCA cooks. We cook 50, 60, 70 competitions sometimes a year on the State Cook-Off Association circuit. And there's been a little bit of a move. They're going to Wagyu New York strips a lot of the times on these second contests. And so I just thought that we needed to get together today and show folks how to trim up a competition style New York strip and make it right.
Sounds good, John.
Okay,
Sounds
let's
good.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Got my Victorinox knife here. I've got one trimmed and I'll share with that a little bit about that with you in just a minute. But as you see, you can see the marbling in this thing. This thing is absolutely awesome. And if you get a T-bone steak at a grocery store, which a T-bone is kind of an older cut. That used to be the steak.
Yeah.
Had a, if you got the porterhouse, it had the filet on one side and this New York strip on the other one.
Yep.
But we've got to do some things to this, and I'm convinced that the judges, Ronald, want a ribeye bite whether they're judging a New York strip or not.
Sure.
So we've done some things to this steak, and I'm going to show you. There's two ways you can really tenderize this. I've got a little pick here that I would run here against the grain and through the grain. Now, I've already done that on this steak, so we don't have to do it. But I'd make sure I would see which way the grain is running and go into the grain. Give them a good bite. I do know that this is kind of a false spinalis up here on this top. And we want to cut that out because we want this to be the side that the judge is actually going to bite from. So I would come in here and cut some of this out. I'll show you on the other steak what that looks like. We go in here and cut kind of down to the correct contour of this steak. And then we would go in here and cut the actual tail off of it and kind of shape it up like we would a ribeye. But even with our ribeyes, we're staying with the natural contour of the steak.
Right.
And we'll show you, I won't go into all the details, but that's what we would do. Do you have any suggestions on these, Ronald?
No, John, I mean, the natural contour of the steak is what I always try to use as my guide when I'm trimming steaks.
Right.
Whether it's New York strip, ribeyes, whatever, for competition, I want it to look appetizing. That's the thing. I want it to look appetizing.
And when we're going to be cooking these New York strips for competition, of course, they're going to have the flavor.
Yeah, they are.
But with the Wagyu, you sure don't want to over-season. Now, we want to layer on the flavors. We're going to be using the Arcasippy combo layered with a hardened seasoning today.
Yep.
But at the same time, you want the meat to stand on its own.
Exactly, exactly.
So that's what we're going to do today. Now, let me show you. Let's move over from this one. We'll finish trimming that one in a minute. We've just trimmed this one just a few minutes ago and seasoned it. And this one just looks really, really good. This was that spinalis end of the steak, and this end was the tail end that I call the tail end here. We trimmed around it, took all the fat off of it, and got a good bite for the judges. It's been tenderized and it's ready to go. I'm gonna show you how to layer these flavors on this thing right now. So we're gonna season this New York strip, and to start out, I'm gonna actually do probably the presentation side first. I'm gonna use a little Lee & Perrins Worcestershire sauce. I've used it for a long time in competition. I know a lot of people do. Kind of rub it in, and of course the next thing for color, Ronald, give me a layer of that big red beef on top. We're gonna let it just kind of melt into that Lee & Perrins, give it a good solid coat on the top. And I'm gonna take that and rub this in. Give me a little more on top of it, brother. There you go. Now this stuff will put the color to it. And you can kind of see what we're coming up with. And then I like on the presentation side, take a little light coat after we've done that of your Hotty Toddy Climax. Right. So we've used the all queued up big red beef, Hotty Toddy Climax, just right on the top. Ronald, this stuff's good from everything from popcorn to pasta, brother.
Popcorn to pasta. I've had many messages on that from popcorn to pasta. So
it's a great rub. So then we flip it over, and Ronald, what we do is call this Layerology 101.
Right.
Our rubs are such that you can layer all kinds of flavors with them and just make your own unique rubs.
Yep.
Today we're going to use some hardened seasoning on here. It's really great seasoning. Actually, sponsor a Bama-Q, and they do an absolutely wonderful job, and it pairs well with the Archipelago combo. It sure does. Going to put us a little bit of Worcestershire sauce on and pour the hardens to it, brother. Going to kind of go light on this. It's a grilled flavor on this hardens. We don't want to go too much. And then we'll come back over the top of that with a little bit of this steak shake. All queued up steak shake. Now, Ronald, I'll tell you what makes these Wagyus so good is that marbling.
Yeah.
But along with that marbling, you have to do a few things a little bit different on the cooking end.
You do. You know, you cook them too hot, John, and we talked about that, you know, a lot with Wagyu. You have to back off the heat just a little bit.
Yep, you've got so much fat dripping on the coals, dripping on the fire, and you have to kind of watch it. We'll share that a little bit more here in just a few minutes when we get into the cooking time. Right now, we're gonna let these steaks set. Now this one's ready to go on the grill, so it's already been set in about 45 minutes. We're gonna let this one set 45 minutes, and we're gonna come back and show you what we're gonna do with our grill and get it over here on the Hasty Bake Suburban Grill, show you how we're gonna do it and how far we're gonna take it. So today, Ronald, we're cooking on the Hasty Bake Suburban. I'm gonna tell you, that's one of my favorite grills.
Yeah.
One of the good things about the Hasty Bake is you can raise and lower the fire basket. So just a minute ago, I checked the temperature. I'm wanting to cook about 550 degrees. Checked the temperature and realized it was about 610 degrees. Got away from us just a little bit. So I took the fire basket down just a little bit, cooled it off, and now we're setting just about 565. So just another minute and we'll be ready to go. We'll bring her down just a little bit. It's just that simple with a Hasty Bake. Love that grill. Now, you're gonna keep time for me today.
Gonna keep time for you, John.
We're gonna try to keep this under 550 just because of the sheer amount of fat content in these Hassell Cattle Company Wagyu steaks. But I'm getting ready to put this thing on.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
Man, it looks good.
It looks good. Now, I have oiled it down. Grapeseed oil is great. Avocado oil, duck fat spray. Your oil of choice, but I like one with a higher smoke point on it so it doesn't burn that.
Exactly.
Now I'm going to take the grill grates and just simply get them ready. If you're cooking at home and not in a competition, it don't matter as much. But we're going to keep these grill grates really, really clean so the judge gets a great clean bite, nothing charred, nothing rancid, nothing on the grill that could be an off-putting flavor, nothing off-putting. We don't want to do anything to mess these beautiful Hassell Cattle Company steaks up. All right, I'm ready to go. You're going to keep time for us, correct? All right, here we go. We're going to get her on. We got the timer set. We're going to flip it in a crosshatch pattern, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and each time we're going to go about a minute and 20 seconds.
Minute 20 seconds. That should be good.
We're ready to go. And I'm listening for that sizzle, and I just heard it, so I know the grill's exactly where we want it to be. And I've got my weight on there. All right.
So John, explain a little bit about the weight. I mean, I know that we know what it's for, but kind of give them an idea what the weight's for.
Well, that's the new Hasty Bake weight, and I love it because it's 1.5 pounds. It does an excellent job. And so what I'm doing with that is keeping all the surface down on the grill grate. I don't want it to come up. You know, in the process of cooking, the steak's going to draw up and it's going to expand, and we want to keep these lines good and straight. Now, I've tried to do it without the weight, but I can't keep them straight, so I just wells to use the weight.
Exactly.
How many seconds we got?
We've got about 30 seconds to go, John.
30 seconds, and I'm listening, and I'm hearing it,
it,
and I know it's doing exactly what it needs to do. And we've got this other one sitting here, and by the time we get this one off, that'll be ready to go on. Be some good eating on it, brother.
Can't wait to taste it.
It's smelling good already.
Smelling good.
Okay, 16 seconds. Grill's running right where I want it to be. And Ronald, one thing about it, the SCA has started these competitions with the New York strips. I think it's an awesome thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of folks don't really know how to trim them, but we hope we've helped them here today on that. Ready to go?
Time to rotate.
We're going to rotate this. Be real simple and easy. We're gonna run our spatula under it and just pop it up real easy. If you jerk that, sometimes you lose some of your grill marks,
Exactly.
okay? So when we flip it, we got the first set on. We're gonna go ahead and get our grill good and clean. Yep. This is an oiled rag. And we're gonna get that second set of hatch marks on here, okay? So I'm gonna see exactly where I need to go with this. It's right there.
Okay.
Another minute and 20 seconds. And
yeah, John, you know, we've seen a lot of changes, and you know, the SCA sport is growing.
It's growing.
You know, as it grows, you know, things like the Hassell Cattle Company Wagyu strips, ribeyes has become an integral part of it. So, you know, it's a great thing for the sport to grow. You and I have been able to experience that growth, right. and we love it.
We love it. You know, this year, 2020, yep. was the Ambassadors of the Year for the State Cook-Off Association. Right. Exactly. I'm glad to be a part of this growth time. Yep. But you know what I'm even more excited about is watching Bama-Q get involved in the State Cook-Off Association. Yeah. Of course, I've been fans of Bama-Q for a long time, right. but now they're walking in our backyard now. And it's going to be fun. Yep. I'm looking forward to it.
You know what I'm really looking forward to?
What's that?
Eating that steak.
Me and you both, brother. We got about 20 seconds.
About 20 seconds to go.
And of course, we're going to be competing this year on the Bama-Q circuit. Yep. So we're coming to all those competitions, and it's going to be an exciting time.
Sure is.
And maybe we'll get to cook some of these good-looking Wagyu strips in there.
Exactly.
All right. So we got 4 seconds. Let's just see what this crosshatch pattern looks like. And let's see if we got it right. Gonna bring it in and just pop it up. I felt a little resistance that time, but we really like it when a plan comes together.
That look good.
Looking good. Yep, looking good. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're not as particular about the bottom side, or I'm not. I've just done the bottom side on this. We're gonna start it. And we're going to start temping this thing here in just a few minutes just to make sure. Now, I'm convinced, and I'm going to be honest with you. We said when we tenderized it a few minutes ago, even though you're cooking New York strips, what are SCA judges used to eating?
They're used to eating ribeye.
They're used to eating ribeye. Yep. So I want that to bite as much like a ribeye steak or a ribeye bite as I possibly can. Right. I think it helps us.
Right. And you know, John, with the New York strips, as you can see, I mean, once you trim that the way you did, we've got less fat. We don't have a defined spinalis that gives the steak more flexibility.
Right.
As you can see, the presentation on that steak was beautiful.
It's a good-looking steak. Yeah. Actually, you can make these look better than the ribeye because you don't have that two muscles.
Absolutely.
This has a little bit of a false spinalis up on top of it, which these two were right out of the middle of the strip loin. And man, they were right there in the center cut, which really looked good. Yeah. Got just another little lick.
You got about 15 seconds.
Okay.
You know, the great thing about these two is that even the fat has flavor.
The fat has flavor?
I mean, the fat has flavor.
Yep.
You don't care if you get just a little bite of fat in a bite of this Hassell Wagyu, I'll tell you.
Those Hassell Cattle Company Wagyu
you ready?
Strips are just awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. And then we're going to bring you back here in just a few minutes as this thing begins to be put up on the rack and we finish it out on the right temperature. We'll show you what that's going to look like here in just a minute. Folks, we're going to temp this New York strip right now just to see where we're at. Now, I use Thermopin on mine exclusively. You can put a leave-in thermometer, a ThermalWorks dot works real well, Ronald, does a good job. But I want to temp it, and I want to show you how I temp it with a Thermopin. Lots of folks have trouble with this. And this steak is cut about 1 1/8 inches, and so I'm going in at a slant. And I'm looking at it, and it's about 122, 123 degrees. But on a Wagyu, Ronald, I'm temping in 3 spots.
Right.
It's so easy to get in the fat pocket with your thermometer, and that's why people don't get the correct reading. But I know by looking at mine, I'm at 122 degrees. Yep. So what we're gonna do, we wanna bring this to 135 today. I got a little movie popcorn butter. And so I'm gonna do a little spraying on this. And what I'm gonna do, I do this a lot of times at home and also sometimes in competition, give it a little moisture on the top, and this is gonna put a little color on it. So we're just gonna spray it over the top.
Yep.
Give it a little bit of butter flavor, another layer of flavors,
Exactly.
Layerology 101. We'll bring you back in just a minute. When it gets a little closer to being done, we'll pull it off. We're gonna try these Wagyu steaks. All right, folks, let's check it, Ronald, one more time.
Check it one more time.
Let's see here. I got a perfect 137. It's gonna carry a couple of degrees.
Yeah.
Let me temp it about 3 spots. Make sure I'm just right. The Wagyu, you gotta temp it 2 or 3 spots. Make sure you're not in the fat pocket. I'm right on the money on that one. Why don't you grab that off for me? And let's let it sit over here and rest just a minute. And let's recap kind of what we've done here. So we trimmed up the Hassell Cattle Company Wagyu steak, got a competition trim on it. Trimmed off the false spinalis and went ahead and shaped it up. As you see, it's a good looking steak, got the grill marks on it. And once we got the grill marks on both sides, we put it over on the cool side. Now we had a 2-zone fire, folks, today. Just a little pro tip for you. If you're cooking at home, competition, the easiest way to control your steaks is a 2-zone fire. Anything you're cooking. Starts getting flare-ups, move it over to the other side.
And you know, John, one thing that we talked about was using the string and the toothpicks. If you notice, the string is still intact because the way we configured the toothpicks there, it held the string intact.
Right.
So that's a great tip there.
There's a reason we got the string and the toothpicks together here.
Right.
The toothpicks are kind of put in here just so that the string will hinge on these. And we put the string on it to kind of hold the shape. We want the grill marks to be as straight as we possibly can, and between your weight and the string around it just kind of holds it so it gets a little better appearance score. You know, any more in the Steak Cook-Off Association, 1 point can make the difference between going home
that's for sure.
empty-handed or going home with $1,000.
Sure.
So anyway, that's a pretty good deal.
Sure.
I think it's time to cut it.
I think it is too.
So I'm gonna let you remove, if you will, that
out of your way.
rack there.
Okay.
One thing you want to do if you're in competition, you want to absolutely make certain that you get every toothpick out, that you get every piece of string out. So we're going to do so right now. And normally, Ronald, we count these things. If you don't, you might mess up, and we don't want to do that. Out of all the time that I've cooked, I've been disqualified 1 time, and I want to tell you, it's not a really good feeling when you do that. All right,
fun.
Let's get this string off. All right, so we're gonna be real gentle with it.
Man, that's a good looking steak.
Good looking steak. Boy, if it tastes half as good as it looks, we're gonna be in business.
Yeah.
I wanna get us a good clean knife. All right, time to cut it, man.
It is.
I'm looking forward to this.
Looks good.
So we're gonna give this a cut, and let's see. We're gonna cut it 50-50. If it was in the judge's box, we'd be cutting it right straight across, okay? And the sun's got it bleached out just a little bit, but I can tell you from the looks of it, perfect medium.
Perfect.
Yep, you can see that juice, look at that. Hassell Cattle Company. Folks, look at the juice that's coming out of these steaks.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Beautiful.
Awesome. All right, let's take a taste of it, brother.
Let's take a taste of it. That's what we want, right?
Yes, sir. All right, give her a shot, my friend. I'm gonna tell you something. There's a lot of Wagyu out there. There ain't any better than Hassell Cattle Company.
None.
I think the way they cross that Wagyu cattle with the Angus to get that Texas Wagyu flavor, you can't beat it.
It's great.
We love it.
Absolutely great.
Cooked on the Hasty Baked Suburban Grill, right here in the Bama-Q test kitchen. Awesome, brother.
It's been a privilege, man.
Man, it's been great. Beautiful day here. We're down here in the Bama-Q test kitchens. I'm John Linsey. I'm here with Mr. Hotty Toddy himself, Mr. Ronald Burns. Ronald, good job, my friend.
Great job.
We'll catch you next time